Hey. Oh shoot! I don't have the all the fluff.
Where's the
Well,
fluff? We're fluffless. We're in the black.
I don't know why they turned off. Yeah, there we go. We're refluff.
Oh, is today the first day of fall?
Oh, I don't know. Is it? I don't keep
Mm,
track of. I don't keep track of those things.
I don't even know where my phone is. I
It
lost it.
feels like it. I got a sweat jacket on and a hat.
I know. It's a little chilly over here.
I
Isn't
was
that interesting? In Chicago, it's a little bit chilly, but it was like 80 2 days ago, and then it just turned.
it was not. It was
We're
90.
done with summer. We're done. It's
It was
just gonna be fall now.
it was 91 on Sunday for us here.
Was it really?
You know, you're a little lower in temperatures typically, but
Yeah.
yeah, 91. Today I walked the dog, and when I got up, it was whatever 4:30. It was 48 degrees out there.
Oh my,
Holy
that's
cow.
funny.
Like almost a 50-degree swing.
It's just weird because you don't have your like cozy sweaters or anything pulled out yet. I still have all my summer clothes out. And
Yeah.
so it's like this weird week where you just don't know what to wear, you know? So I'm like about to go outside and it's like, well, I can't put on a winter jacket. Where's my fall stuff? What do I even wear in the fall? I don't know. I forgot.
Shannon was going to a job site today, and she's like, "Is it cold for a coat?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "I don't have a winter coat down here. I'm just going to wear my raincoat." It's like, just a weird transitional coat. I'm like, all right.
That's what I did. I ran to the store and I have this kind of thin coat. It's nice. It's kind of like a fall coat, but it's not a winter coat. But it's long. And I'm too short. Like I usually wear like boots or some heels, but I was like, forget it. I just had my gym shoes and I'm like, I'm cold. I'm putting it on. I'm like walking around in this long coat. Like it's too cold. I'd rather be comfortable. Hope
Yeah, I like
nobody
this one.
sees me at 8 a.m. at the grocery store.
Yeah, I'm still good with shorts, and even if I wear like a sweat jacket, I can still pull shorts off for a while. As it gets colder, like
Oh,
I don't
not
mind.
me.
I don't mind wearing shorts for a while.
I don't like wearing shorts in the house even during the summer when the air's on. I'm always cold in the house with the air on. So I always wear pants, so I'm used to that. But this morning, so I picked my daughter up at the airport. I told you at 5:30 in the morning she came home from school just for the weekend, and she takes the bus in, and so I pick her up at the airport, and it was the drive back. So we're driving east towards the lake. It was the most beautiful. It wasn't even the sunrise yet because it was still so early, but the clouds were like, there was a ton of clouds and there were like these black puff balls because they were backlit.
Mhm.
It looked like Gotham City. It was so cool. And you can't get a picture because it just
Sure.
doesn't do it justice. But even both of us were like, oh my God. It was just all these black puff balls just like falling. It was so beautiful. I was like,
Mm.
this is such a treat. This made me getting out of bed worth it. No, getting my daughter was worth it. That was such a nice treat. What a nice way to wake up.
Yeah. Yes, if
You
you're looking for things at 5 in the morning, that's always a good one to find.
Isn't that like lunchtime for you? You're not going to the store.
No, but I am thinking about it.
We know that. Oh, speaking of lunch,
Sorry. There we go.
I just had such a good salad. So we just made 2 giant salads, and oh my gosh, my daughter we didn't make them. We went to Food Stuffs and made them. We picked out the stuff. But it's like those salads are so good, and I get the oil-free dressing, but for some reason it's just really good when someone else makes it and they chop it. And I always talk about how much I love chopped salads. And you can buy those choppers there too, if anybody has a Food Stuffs around. But I just get like all the stuff that I love in salads, just my basics, but they also have like roasted Brussels sprouts and those extra things. And then they chop it all up, and I put the fat-free vinaigrette on it. It is so good with banana peppers in it, and Hattie always gets the honey mustard, and she gets all her stuff in it. But anyway, I'm so full. We just had these 2 giant salads.
Yeah.
I know. It was so fun. We were racing around the mall. She needed to get a few things, so we ran to the mall. We ran around there. It's an outdoor mall, so we literally like walked a ton. Went and got salads, and here I am.
I'm on meal plan leftover day 4.
Are you? Oh
Go ahead
God.
and
Oh, I should show you in
test
a
it.
my fridge.
Plan test lunches day 4.
So I have to say, I think I already told you this, but the frizzelles were so good. So Phil
Yeah,
sent me two. We've been talking about them. We talked about them last week. The big giant croutons that our dad used to make. I mean, used to buy them. He didn't make the crouton part, but with tomato salads, we'd have them all the time during the summer. So I had a ton of tomatoes, and Frank's sister Kathy came last weekend and brought me literally like 2 giant tubs of tomatoes. Didn't even send you any. You got your peck. Shoot,
I
I
got
still
my
got
pack.
yeah. So anyway, we've been making tomato salad every night, and it's just so good on the frizzelle. So after we had it like a couple nights, Frank keeps telling me before work, "You're gonna make the tomato salad again, right?"
It's jonesing.
So addicted to it. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah, and it stinks because then the tomatoes will be gone, and it'll be like, all right, that's
Yeah.
it for next year. Because yeah, I mean those store-bought tomatoes just are not good.
And then Frank's like, "I really want a cucumber in it," because we used to have them with cucumbers in it. Sometimes we put black
Oh,
olives in ours.
I'll bring
I've
a
got
cucumber tomorrow. Do you guys have cucumbers or no?
hmm?
Do you have
Uh,
cucumbers? I can
no,
bring them.
I don't have them, but my
Yeah,
neighbor Tim he grows, he's got a whole garden back
mm,
there. He's got one of those wild yards where he's like us. He's got all natives, and it's really cool when you go back there. Ours is like manicured because it just is right now. We're trying to grow it, but his is just like really nicely wild, like flowers growing everywhere. And he was, oh my gosh, I showed you that zucchini, the
yeah,
30
yeah.
inch zucchini. Oh my gosh. I think I showed that last week. Anyway, so Frank's like, "Just go pick one. I'll ask Tim if we can go and pick one." And he's like, "Yeah, just go." We texted him. So I'm walking through there and I'm just like, "Oh, I just love being in here and just snipping a big cucumber off of his tree." They were like, the vines are literally growing up a tree. I think he tied them up to that tree, but how fun is that? And putting it
Yeah,
right in your salad.
I tell you, that's what I love doing.
I know.
Just being able to walk, and then now it's getting sad because things are dying. Like the cucumber plants are all, now that the plants are all wilted, I can see there's like 3 more that like I never saw that like on the ground and starting to rot, and one grew into the fence, and yeah, the garden's starting to, it's all like it's getting gray and dark.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel a little sad, but you got to think of the cycle of life. And now it's time for us to just, you know, wrap ourselves up a little bit, eat a little more, be a little cozier. There's something really nice about that too. It's like,
Yeah,
so it's just like I try not to look at it that way so much, even though it is. It's like, all that's over. It's so, I do feel a little sad, but it is fun. It's like football season, sweaters, there's like a little brisk in the air,
sure.
coffee. I don't know. There's something
Yeah,
nice about it.
I
Winter,
love.
I can't stand. No. I'll really be upset when winter comes. Oh, and you just have to try to embrace that.
Yeah, I enjoy fall. I like the cooler weather. Yeah, we'll get the fire. Some guy down the street like cut a tree down, so I've been drying logs in the garage all summer. So it's like, oh, we got actual logs. Usually they're just sticks and the fire burns. But yeah, just having fires, wearing warmer clothes, you like brisk
Fires,
walk.
yeah.
Yeah, I like fall. We're gonna start decorating for Halloween
Halloween.
early.
Right, and then it's like Christmas time, and we celebrate Christmas, so it's like then Christmas is coming, and
Yeah,
there's always something to look forward to.
end of the year, another year gone.
We're gonna be making chili soon. We're gonna be making stews. What else are we gonna be making?
Great hearty dishes.
Got a lot of hearty dishes coming up. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. All
But
right.
anyway, my fridge is full of meal plan food too. Wow, I did a lot of cooking this week. So I tried this dessert. I don't really want to say what it is yet because I want to talk about it when I actually present it. I made it 3 times this week and it was a flop each time, 3 different ways. I had an idea to do it this way, then that way, then this way. And of course, Frank's eating them all anyway because they're not terrible.
And even if they were, he would.
I wouldn't eat it past 1 bite. I knew it was not good. He's like, pretty good. And I was like, wait, no, it's not pretty good. And he's like, he liked it though, because he likes things that aren't that sweet. And it really wasn't terrible. It's just not something I would want in the meal plan by any means. But yeah, so that's what we do, and it's not really fun to make something 3 times, and I thought the 3rd time was gonna be the charm.
Even
Wasn't.
when it's delicious, you're making things 3 times. It's like it better be a 2, 3 month spans of making things 3 times, let alone like week after
Oh,
week.
well, when I was testing those potatoes that we have today, I don't know if I can see another potato for a while. Took me a lot of tries to get that right. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I think I do that more than you. I think I make and remake things. I don't know why. You're better at those one-time hits, and then I test. Usually, he makes them. Well, you do it a couple times sometimes, but
It just depends on what
yeah,
it is. If I have faith in what it is, if
yeah,
it's so, because again, with the process, the way I do it, I try to look to see what's kind of popular, what's out there, and
yeah.
if it's dishes I might not be super familiar with, but I still hear a lot about, So it's like, all right, let me give that a try. Just like that, the tikka masala. Yeah, I've had it before. It's never in like a regular rotation. Like it's not
No,
something I always order. It's like you'll try it, and it's just like it needs to get a little bit tweaked. So it's like, all right, you make it's like it's either like, wow, this is a grand slam, or if it's a little bit tweaked. If it's like this was terrible, it's like I don't think I want to put more effort into that dish. I'll work on something else. But
no.
if I feel like I can get it to that point, I'll make it a couple. I mean, if I'm making, I don't think I've made anything 4 times. I think after 3, I would either give up or hit it and send it over for
But
the trial.
what I do love about that process is when you get it and it's good and just innately how to make it better. So you're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah,
Now I can even then that's the fun part for me. Now I could even make it better. Put a little lemon zest in it or whatever it is, with coarse sea
sure.
salt. I don't know. But that's the fun part. But I just have to shelf that one. I don't know. What a bummer. Couldn't get
Yeah,
it. We were gonna add it on to this week's meal plan if it came out, but it didn't. So
yeah, live and learn. May come
well,
back around sometime.
we're trying to add more desserts, but I am not a baker. I don't
Well,
know. It's
that's
messy.
when you're doing this, like and like yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of figuring that stuff out because you put the wrong thing in or the wrong measurement, and that doesn't rise, or that does rise and it wasn't supposed to, or
Right,
that came out
right.
flat, you over kneaded it, you did, all those
Mhm.
little tricks. It's like sometimes it's hard. It's like, why isn't that working? And it's like, oh, don't use the mixer, use the hand
Yeah,
stir.
you overmixed it. Yeah.
Right. So that's where it gets hard with baking, adding things to make it taste good. It's like, oh, just a little bit more, a little bit more of this, a little
Well,
bit more of that.
also, we were brought up to be like just tasters, like tasting
Right.
cooks. Like there was no measuring anything. Like we didn't have recipes. You throw a little, taste it, with a different spoon every time. But you just taste as you go. And, that's how you know what it needs. And I don't know. It's really
Which is a little frustrating when you like call mom and be like, I'm like 22 and be like, hey, how do you make gravy? And it's just like, what do you mean? How do I make it? I make it the same way every time. It's like, but how much of this? How much of that? How many? Just
I
like a
remember
handful of parsley or whatever. It's just like a
handful.
handful. My handful or your handful? Like,
I remember
so
years ago, she was telling me about her gravy, and she's like, and then I coat the top with oregano. I'm like, how much? You just coat the top. Okay. A thick coating? A light
one,
sprinkling? What do you mean coat the top?
a 1-inch crust.
What did Carol say? Grandma said, you add, was it garlic or was it red pepper?
No, cheese. I thought.
Oh, cheese.
You
Cheese.
add till you think you had too much, and then you add just a little more.
That's it. That's it. Yep. That's how they cooked. So that's how we were raised. So the whole measuring thing is still strange to me, even though I still measure our own recipes because they're spot on and I want them to be right. So, I mean, I think I have the crumbles pretty down. I don't need a measure. I don't need a recipe for the crumbles, depending on which crumbles. We've got a lot of crumbles.
Yeah, I always I always read it just to make sure, because sometimes I'll think one thing and be like, oh, that's not these, or that's something else. Like I don't know. Sometimes I see so many recipes and so many
I know. Oh,
measurements.
trust me. We don't make the
Oh,
same things too many times except
yeah.
those crumbles. But like if you're putting in the fennel seeds, you don't measure a tablespoon or whatever it is. Don't you just pour it in your
Yeah,
hand?
I do that
Yeah,
because I actually like a little bit more myself if fennel
me
seed.
too.
Um,
Okay. Uh,
Well,
We could
just like, I mean, there's certain things. I mean, there's some things like, I mean, again, like, and that's what makes it interesting when you're trying to create recipes for other people. You're trying to anticipate what, because I use more garlic than like my wife likes or my kids like. You know, like I use
Yep.
garlic, but when I cook, I have to make it what I think everyone will like, not just what I like. I was a very self-centered cook for a long time. It's like I know what I like, and I'm cooking. That's what I'm
That's what
making.
you're eating.
I know. But I had to kind of break myself with that and try to, well, just cook. I mean, I know it tastes good, but it's like, what? How do I like it? Because again, spicy. My wife just doesn't like spicy food, and I love it. So it's like, all right. Even when we like cook like that, it's like I've only added one hot pepper like to this
Right.
because I know you're not going to want it. Like, want it spicier. So
Well, that's interesting. So with this roasted garlic crema that we have today in our meal plan, when I made that the first time, I used a small head of garlic because those organic heads of garlic, they're pretty tiny. And we are always going to the farmer's market. I mean, anyway, at the farmer's market they are. I know in the store they're still big and they're organic if you buy them. But anyway, sometimes you get a really tiny one. And I had like maybe like a smaller head. And I remember when I made it, and I thought like, yeah, I could taste it, but I wanted even more garlic because even though and I was going to talk about this when we get to it, but I'll just say it now, even though there's an entire head in it, in the crema, you roast it and it loses that pungency and it just becomes sweet and like roasty flavored. It's really, really good. Yeah, and you get a garlic flavor, but it's not like putting a raw head. I mean, that just sounds crazy. So I didn't think I couldn't really, I wanted more. And so when Frank tasted it, he's my taste tester. So he was tasting it and and I said, but it doesn't have much garlic in it, does it? You can't really taste it. He goes, oh yeah, it does. I was like, really? I can't taste it. He goes, oh yeah, it's like perfect amount of garlic. And I was like, all right, well then I don't have to worry about there not being enough garlic. But I just think that's funny because like I would have loved double that really. And
yeah.
when I made it again, I used like I always try to use like an average size. Like I'm really aware of that, and sometimes garlic is so, you can get really tiny cloves and then you could get a monster clove.
Right.
So we've been over this before, like when we say a clove, it's somewhere in the middle. It's like an average size clove. If you have a little one, use 2 of them. So whenever I cook anything for the meal plan, I'm always sticking right to all the measurements perfectly because I just want to make sure. I can't just wing things.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I did it again and I made it with an average size and it was really good. Then I thought it was ready to go.
Ready to go.
Okay, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Dun, 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 dun.
Game time.
It might take a sec here. There we go.
I wanted to say, who out there who's a football fan? Like we have people that are going to answer. Well, they could answer in our chat. Yeah, I said this in the meal prep, which I'm glancing at right now. I don't know. I do remember Dad watching football, but it wasn't like we were a football family. Like you and Dad weren't like going to games and watching the game and Mom having Super Bowl parties or anything like that growing up.
No, I mean, and really, I mean, Dad didn't start watching football till later. I mean, he was a baseball guy. Occasionally, he'd watch the Bears game, and that was pretty much it. Later in life, he kind of changed. He was watching basketball. He was watching football. After he retired, like, but definitely took on more sports than he always did. But
it's funny because you did play football when you were young in school, and did you
came to a game?
What?
I don't think he came to a game.
Mom and I did.
A couple of years.
But yeah, as I got older, it was just fun to go out watching the games and like Frank loves football, so we watch games together and I just kind of got into it. I wrote about the 85. Remember when the Bears won the Super Bowl? That was really fun. Yeah, that was
where fun. I watched it.
Where?
My girlfriend's basement. She had a Super Bowl party or whatever. I have actual pictures from it, somewhere. I just remember seeing all the pictures. But yeah, I was 15. I was 15 at that time.
I graduated high school that year.
Yeah, you were 18.
Yeah, that was fun. And I remember going down to town watching the parade and all the Bears. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So I just think it's, I don't know how I'm just like, I have that spirit where it's like if I'm watching a game and Frank's rooting for a team, I start rooting for them, and then by the end of the middle of the game, we're all like screaming, and it's just
Yeah,
fun
right.
to get into it.
Yeah, my son, just despite my lack of interest in sports, I mean, I really, there's not much I follow. I mean, I do like watching football, so I'll watch it. I don't really watch baseball. I watch some hockey and some basketball and whatnot. But again, I
Mhm.
couldn't name 10 players on any team, any Chicago team or any team really. But my son just has a natural love for a lot of sports. So football,
Mhm.
he's in all the, he's in a couple of different fantasy football leagues. So he is all about the games, all about the players, individual player. So he has friends over here. He goes to football, parties. He's down in ISU this weekend, and they'll be watching football on Sunday with all the friends that he's in the football pools with.
Oh, that's
But
fun.
I do the same thing. So he's just like, oh, I have two players in this game or whatever. So yeah, we're rooting for those two guys, like during the high fiving. So it
Yeah.
is fun when you have something to root for like that. I mean, it's definitely a lot more exciting to watch the game because he goes nuts. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of first place and third place or whatever.
Yeah, well, McCartney is playing, he's a senior now. So we've been going to his Friday night football games every Friday. So that's been really, really fun. And especially when he's in the play, it's
Yeah.
Frank's son. He's like 6'4" almost, maybe 6'3", 6'4". Such a cutie pie too. He's what a sweet kid. But it's just so fun to see him, like catch the ball and run, and you're screaming your heart out for this kid. And yeah, it's any play really. I mean, it's just fun, even though it's a tough sport, and I'm always afraid like someone's gonna get injured. I don't
So
like
like right, I
that.
went and met Frank last week at his nephew's game to
Oh yeah,
get my tomatoes. And like
Matthew.
literally, we walked up. I didn't know his whole family was going to be there. We walked up. We said hello. I sat down, and his nephew got hurt on the first play. I was like, oh no, like
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
he was down there. Like yeah, that's Matthew, and I'm just like, oh no, like
Shoot.
he got up. I mean, he walked off
Yeah.
without that, but I think he was fine after that. I think he just took a hard hit, but it was just like, oh, like as soon as we got there, I was
Oh
like, oh,
God.
man. But bad luck for me.
Seriously, every time someone goes down, my heart drops, and I'm like, "That's not McCartney." I'm always looking for his number. No, I'm because that just with Hattie, my daughter playing soccer, and a couple of bad hits where it was like,
Yeah,
oh God.
it happens.
And then you're the parent trying to be calm and sitting there watching your child like she had like 3 concussions, I think. I mean, she's been playing soccer since she was 7, so she's almost 22. And wow. Yeah, 3 concussions. Those are not fun moments. But
Mhm.
anyway, football season is here. Whether you're a fan or not, it's still fun. We wanted to make some little tasty treats that you could eat in front of the TV if you're watching the game. And I think for the next, I'm not going to say every meal plan, but peppered throughout the fall, we want to bring more because it's just kind of fun food to eat, like while you're watching football or little parties you might have. So that was kind of the idea behind this plan. So, oh, you got it up. The Philly cheesesteak.
It's better.
Is this Philly's cheesesteak?
I thought you wrote that the first time I saw it, and I said, "Oh, there's no Philly." It's funny because there's like 2 people that call me Philly, which always sounds strange to me. But
Because we had a
yeah,
Philly.
we have a cousin named Philly, which sounds
Yeah,
normal. But when I hear
normal.
people call me Philly, it sounds
Who
foolish.
calls you Philly?
Fatty for one.
Fatty calls you Philly. Okay, that's nice. Maybe you shouldn't call him Fatty. That's a complete nickname that he
Yeah,
loves.
Sean calls me Philly sometimes, and Frank Madera also calls me Philly sometimes.
That's cute.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this was we originally had a Chicago cheesesteak, and this was kind of more homage to the kind of, I wouldn't say the original cheesesteak, but I think this is what kind of gets served if you go to a fast food joint. Like this is what you're getting. You're getting the cheesesteak with the mushrooms, onions, and peppers, and the cheese and the bread, and all that. So
Our other one is made with mushrooms too. So this one we use the seitan roast.
which I got to say, man, I love that thing. I'll make one, and sometimes I make 2, and it freezes fine. You can slice, let it thaw, and slice. It's exactly the same. Like it doesn't change the consistency at all. I just
It's
love.
so good.
thaw in the fridge. But man, it's just so easy to just have it on hand, like to make, again, like I made an extra one because I knew I was going to be trying some meals like this. And so when we get it out, it's like, we'll have sandwiches for lunch real quick and just make sandwiches with the meat. And then we'll, have something for dinner. But yeah, it's just, it's super handy to have it on. But man, what I'm trying to do is get one smoked. I want to try a smoke one, like if it was like on a smoker, like I think that would be awesome. And then with like a smoked barbecue, like brisket style, like I think that would be awesome.
Do you have a smoker?
I don't. I called the local guy from a barbecue place, and he called me back. I told him what I wanted to do, and he called me back. And then I called him, and he never called me back. So I'm just like, plus it's I'm sure it's smoking with the meat, so I didn't want to, whatever, kind of mix that all up. But yeah, I got to find someone that has a smoker so I could just smoke it by itself.
Oh, yum! That sounds so good to me.
It would be good, really good.
Well, this seitan is so easy to make, so don't be intimidated by it because literally there's no vegetables in it. I mean, there's no chopping, there's none of that. It's just mixing a couple ingredients together in a bowl, like a mixing bowl, like you're making a dough. That's it. You just throw it all in there. Simple. Stir it up, have a dough, and then you put it in a steamer, and there's no babysitting or anything. You wrap it in a little towel, kitchen towel, put it in the steamer and leave it for 45 minutes. It's perfect every time. I mean, it literally takes minutes, and you have a whole roast that you could do so many things with. And if you go through our recipes, you'll see all the different things we're trying with this roast. And we have different roasts. Like we just spiced them differently. So this is our like beef style roast, but we have a chicken roast. We have a pastrami, which might be my favorite. I love that pastrami seitan roast. But anyway, so seitan, if you don't know what it is, it's made with vital wheat gluten. So vital wheat gluten is gluten is the protein, like the main protein that's found in wheat and like the wheat berries. So they like the wheat flour, they pound that down, make a flour out of it. And then they like hydrate it to activate the gluten. And then they pull everything out and the gluten remains. And then they make a flour out of that. So that's what vital wheat gluten is. And that stuff is what makes bread and everything. It's like has a stretchy quality. So it makes it, it gives it that nice texture. And that's why we use that as an ingredient because that's what actually makes this like roast stay together. And yeah, I say this every time in the notes whenever we use this or in all of our roasts. I mean, it's a little bit more processed and, the whole gluten thing. If you're don't have a gluten sensitivity, you can have gluten and it's packed with protein. That's why I'm good with it because it is 80% protein. So it's not only, delicious, gives everything a great texture, it gives you a lot of protein. So I think that all those benefits outweigh that it's not, just minimally processed like we usually do. It goes through a couple of different processing stages and really we're pulling out something just for texture, but the protein. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because I know people don't quite get what it is. And there's this whole, it's gluten. What is it? We feel comfortable using it. There's a couple things like we use sriracha. I can never say that right. And there's sriracha, and there's sugar in that. But we love the flavor of it. So we add it, to some things. If you don't want to, don't use it. If you don't want to use this, you don't have to make this recipe. But you're going to see some of this stuff showing up just because we really enjoy it. And like I said, with that protein punch, it's totally worth it to me. It's not taking anything away. It's just not as, not 100% whole food. But anyhow, it's delicious. And you make the roast, like Phil said, keep it in the fridge, slice it up. If I make this, I think you have like a half of a roast left over. Because we made these sandwiches enough for 4 people. So you'll have a half of a roast left over that you could slice up. And we have a great hot mustard in the plan this week. I was eating the sandwiches with that hot mustard and pickles. Oh my God, it's so good. Woo! I am like a mustard freak. I love mustard. But anyway, this is just so simple. Then we just like saute up peppers, onions, and mushrooms. Mix it all up. Phil came up with this really good. It's not even a sauce. It's just like juicy.
It's juicy.
Yeah, it just keeps it juicy. It's not dry at all. And then we put our provolone, which you probably have made it before. It's just a standalone recipe. Put it all together, and it is one fantastic sandwich.
See, and
So
that's this is a perfect example because like the first time I made it, I just sauteed the peppers and onions, and I used the seitan, and it's like, well, it's a little dry, It's like, well, and the cheese I had on it, but yeah. So then it's like, all right, we'll make a little sauce, and it's like, oh yeah, it's better with the sauce, but let me tweak out the sauce. Then you make it the third time, it's like, all right, now it's good. Then I send it over to you, and you may have tweaked out the sauce. I didn't
did I?
nitpick it to see if you changed anything or not, but yeah, in
Oh,
the end, that's where I'll kind of add or change things and stick with it because I know like, all right, I have to get that right, and then we're golden.
I did not tweak the sauce because I
No,
remember thinking, I wonder how. I hate to second guess you because he's really spot on, but I was like, like whatever it was, I was just kind of like, I wonder how this is going to be, and it was so good. I didn't have to touch it. The only thing I did differently was I caramelized the onions longer because I thought they were really good to like turn them brown and just
sure.
make, yeah, like give them some more, like even more flavor before I only tested this once because I mean, I knew all the components basically, but I wanted to test that sauce with the onion. So I was like, oh, let's caramelize them longer because they're so, I just love caramelized onions and it's just really flavorful that way. But no, that sauce is perfect. It's a perfect amount too. Um,
Delish.
the only one thing I do want to say is I would make the provolone sauce right before you're going to have this. I wouldn't make that in advance and keep it in the fridge. It's good. I mean, of course we do that if we have leftovers and we eat it all week, but if you're going to make this, especially if you're having friends over for the big game, it's the provolone sauce is good right when you make it. It's just so smooth and warm and creamy and you just everything comes together at once, slather it on the buns. I don't know, if you heat it up, it gets a little coagulated, it's just not as nice. So I would make that last.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the cheese sauces I'll make. The pizza cheese sometimes I can make in advance, but yeah, these all I like. Just yeah, there's just that smoothness to get them on the sandwich is perfect.
Perfect. But yeah, you make the seitan roast, you could make that, a week in advance if you want. Or
And
freeze
often I do. And often I do.
it.
All right, then we got the tofu nuggets with the mustard dipping sauce.
Oh my goodness. Look at those little things. I can almost hear them crunch. Okay. So, who has an air fryer? You have an air fryer. You have an air fryer. Okay, I know that Amelia, your daughter, you guys air fry things a lot. I don't, but it's so much fun when I do because it's really good and I just love it. I just happen to have an old one that's like about this big. And so I have to lug that thing out. My next air fryer is going to be one that I can just keep on the kitchen counter when
Yeah.
this thing goes. I'm not going to buy one special, but um I do love it. I just don't love lugging it out. That's the only thing because I
Right.
can't keep that in my kitchen. It's just too big. But anyway, when I do pull it out, usually on Sunday mornings, I'll make, you know, crispy potatoes in literally 10 minutes from raw. It's so nice. Yeah, every time I use it, I'm amazed. I'm like, why don't I use this more often?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
for like 3 days, I'm air frying everything, and then it goes back on the shelf. But I know not everybody has air fryers, but we do want to start adding some air fryer recipes because of that reason. I mean, I can't get these nuggets to crisp up this well in the oven. I mean, it bakes so nicely and like uniformly. And that's why we thought for this we'll use the air fryer because it just makes them so nice. And this basically we just take tofu, rip it up. I have something I want to say about the tofu, but first I'm going to say rip it into these nice little pieces. So you cut it like a block, cut it into 5 sections, like crossways, not lengthwise. Rip with your hands, rip those in half, and then rip them in half again. And they'll look tiny, but then we're going to bread them. And they're like perfect nugget sizes, just when I remember of nuggets looking like. Basically, what we're going for is chicken nuggets. So our breading, we make the breading from whole wheat breadcrumbs, which you can make your own. We have it in the recipe. And just our almond parm, which is in there, which is delicious. So we make this really good breading and a little bit of a batter and coat them and then air fry them for 14 minutes. And they come out so crisp. I couldn't get enough of these things. I don't know how many batches we made. I mean, I was tweaking it as I went, but I couldn't make them fast enough. We were just polishing them off. They're so good. But the other thing I want to say that this little trick, and I didn't do this the first 2 times that I made them, but I had this idea because I've done it before, and I've done it for different things. When you freeze tofu and freeze it solid, and then you let it thaw. I know it seems strange, but it gives it such a nice, dense consistency. I mean, it's almost like chicken. You may not want it. Yeah, it totally changes the consistency, and you may not want it to be so chicken-like. I mean, I do have an aversion to some things that are too meaty. I can't do it. I just can't, but this I can. I just love the taste of these nuggets. I love the breading, and I am a texture person. Like, that's why I like seitan and things that are meaty, because that is very satisfying to me. That's why I love the crumbles. They're really satisfying. It's not just beans that'll mash up. It's like something a little more textured. So I recommend doing that. Just take your block of tofu in the package, toss it in the freezer, at least for 1 day so it's frozen solid. Then you're going to have to take it out and let it thaw. And as soon as it's back to its original consistency, or just thawed, I should say, that's when it's ready to use. And what happens in there is that I think it creates the air. It creates air pockets. Or the water, it produces water, and that creates the air pocket. So it makes it real holy inside, and that's kind of, I don't know, it just gives it this really great texture. And when it's cooked, and then you bread the thawed tofu. You don't have to do anything fancy with it. But when it cooks, it's so different than the other tofu. The other one, even though it has the crispy outer shell after it comes out of the air fryer, the breading, it's kind of squishy. But this one is it's really nice.
Right. Yeah, it's all about that consistency.
It's solid.
Mm-hmm. Delish. Yeah, there's some, and again, just depending on what the dish is, some things I've made with the frozen tofu, and it's just not right. It doesn't come out right. I think I made the crumbles with the frozen, and it was too chewy then. They were too dense because they were small, and I think they cooked
I never did
too much.
That.
Yeah, I think the fact that there's still kind of some moisture in there helps those stay. But yeah, it really just depends. So sometimes I'll mess around with the frozen one as opposed to the not frozen one and see what works best. But this is a great point to that, where you use the regular one and then you tried it with the frozen, and the frozen was better.
Much better to me.
Yeah. So yeah, you give those things a try and see. You never know.
I know. That's what's really fun about this. And then that hot mustard dipping sauce. I considered doing a honey mustard, which my daughter loves. And well, not with honey, but honey mustard, I would probably use, I don't know, maple syrup maybe, which I want to work on because I have an idea for that too. But I love hot mustard. I just love egg rolls dipped in hot mustard. I always went for the hot mustard over what was the other one? A sweet and sour maybe? If you get egg rolls at a Chinese place.
Mm-hmm. The apricot sauce or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, but this has a really nice kick to it. Has a little bit of sweetness in it, and the nuggets dipped in that hot mustard. My goodness. And I made the hot mustard a bunch of times trying to perfect it. So I had a bunch of that in my fridge. That's what we were eating the seitan roast with on sandwiches. Oh my gosh, the leftovers are so good. Just to have that in your fridge.
Who wants a seitan and first run mustard sauce sandwich?
Frank. Yeah. He's the best taste tester around.
He doesn't have a choice at the time.
Oh my God. Well, the flop dessert, it was funny because he really loved it last night. And so I left it out. It didn't not even have to be refrigerated. So I left it out, and he leaves really early in the morning. So I covered it and I left it on the island, and I put a big note and an arrow. And I was like, take a few pieces of this or something. And I came back. When I woke up, I came down and the whole thing was gone. And I even left him a bag to put it in. And the whole thing was gone. And I was like, yay, he took all of it. I said, I love, he's the best taste tester. He took everything. He didn't even just take one. Then I opened the fridge. The whole thing was there. I was like, what?
You son of
He didn't take any of it.
is the worst.
Obviously, he saw my note. How much did he really like that fluff? All right. It was funny though. I was just like, "Oh my god, it's all there."
All right.
Oh,
Smashed
okay.
potatoes.
You could talk about
These
I do all the
crispy little critters and the roasted garlic crema. Yeah, I love smashed potatoes. This was always something we made. Like, I don't know, whenever we found out how to make like smashed potatoes a long time ago. We've made them all the time now, but yeah, it used to be with like butter and whatever cheese topping and and all that. But yeah, these come out great. You don't need the butter, you don't need the cheese. The crema's nice, and I have a nice little dipping sauce for them.
Yeah, this is funny though, because I do remember, I don't know where I discovered these. I made them for Little Clove years ago. Yeah, when people started making them, that's when I made
Right.
them.
Yeah.
I saw somebody making them and I made them. But of course, I used olive oil and who knows what else, butter probably, and smashed them and roasted them in the oven. And I remember telling mom about them, or I made them for her. And it's just so funny how this happens. It's just one of those recipes where a couple years later, mom tells me I should be making these. I'm like, what?
That's my recipe.
What's
Judy,
your recipe?
you should make these Judy smashed potatoes. They're delicious.
She's like, Jude, you put some rosemary in there and the garlic and the olive oil. I was like, Mom, do you not remember me giving you this recipe?
My handwriting.
Anyway, so I wanted to recreate that without all that oil and butter. And you can get them really nice and crispy by just doing a mix of, I saw somebody do this somewhere online. I think I watched a video or something. Somebody did it with vegetable broth and cornstarch. And that blend makes things crispy. I don't know. I think they were doing these smashed potatoes or maybe just regular oven roasted potatoes. But I had heard that. I've tried that so many times for fries, tossing them in cornstarch or arrowroot or something, and I don't think they need it. Fries don't need it at all. Like, we make them crispy. I don't need the cornstarch or any of that. But I couldn't get these. I made these smashed potatoes over and over and over. I couldn't get them really crispy. And then I remembered that. So I did it with arrowroot instead of cornstarch. And it worked. And it was like, wow, they really did crisp up on the bottoms. Like, when they're smashed with the potato masher, you have all those little bits and ridges, and then around the edges, those tiny bits get really crispy, and the bottoms get nice and crispy on the parchment paper. But that little wash really, really does make them nice and crispy. So don't skip that step. And then another test that I did was with fresh garlic. I put fresh garlic because I love, minced garlic. Well, that doesn't work out so well because that kind of burns, and burned garlic is not a good taste. You can't really roast it that way. I don't know, because these potatoes take 45 minutes. Or I think like 30, 35, 40 maybe. Yeah, so they were good. We ate them. They weren't burned. It wasn't terrible. But again, it wasn't the best way to do it with fresh garlic like that because it's just not that pleasant. So I don't know, 3 or 4 times later, and then I tried like tiny potatoes. I tried bigger potatoes. Anyway, the crema idea was because I wanted that garlic flavor in something, and it's basically our ramped up sour cream, just roasted garlic in our cashew sour cream. And it's the perfect amount of garlic with these potatoes. I did toss on a little garlic, like granulated garlic on top, just to give them a little bit more. But that garlic and rosemary flavor is so good. And then the sour cream and potato. I mean, come on, that's really good.
Yeah, all a good combo.
So this is fantastic. And I'm very, very, very proud of that one because I know it's just potatoes, but hey, they're really, really some fantastic potatoes.
Garlic
There's
crema.
a garlic crema. So it's like a sour cream with the roasted garlic. And I already talked about the roasted garlic, how it's not overly garlicky. I kind of even want it with some more garlic. But yeah, the sour cream flavor with the potatoes. So good. You can make that.
You could use those, I mean, I put that like when we have a sauce, then all of a sudden it's like, what else will this go on?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we'll put it on other stuff and see how it goes. But
Yeah, it was like you could, use it on tacos. I mean, what is it? Garlic and sour cream. Use it on tacos. we could add something else to it and change it even, change it from there. I don't know. Like we have the jalapeno lime crema,
Right,
The
right, of course.
crema is like a sour cream in a way. I mean, that's probably what the actual term is. So yeah,
Yeah.
make it your
That's what
own. That's what
that's
we
what's
do.
great about those components. And I'm doing that. I do that all the time, just as I'm going, because sometimes, just like with this, like you'd be like, okay, I'm going to make these great potatoes. What can I put with them? And then as you browse through like the sauces, it's like, oh, well, what if I took the sour cream and added garlic? Like sometimes I'll take a sauce that we already have and try to build on it, or create a new one, or just use what's there. Sometimes we'll just add a
Right.
sour cream to something, or whatever it is. But having those on hand, I mean, is half the battle when you're looking for something. It's like, what will taste good on this? Because like you're saying, like you could throw a can of jalapenos in there and have like a roasted garlic jalapeno taco,
Exactly.
like, or sriracha and have a
Exactly.
spicy roasted garlic, or
Or a
Yeah.
spoonful of smoked paprika. Now you have a smoky roasted
Yeah.
garlic.
Gotta put that in, don't you? Gotta have a
I
smoky.
love everything smoky. You're the one buying the smoker. You better smoke something for me.
Smoked seitan.
Are you coming over on Sunday?
No, I can't on Sunday. I was gonna try and go Saturday, but Frank said he'll
Oh.
come to this game. I didn't know what you guys are doing.
Oh, what
Um,
game?
he's going back to Matthew's game
Oh, he's
here.
going to Matthew's game tomorrow?
Yeah, that's what he said. Well, I asked him if he was going to get tomatoes, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "I could drop him off at Matthew's game again if you
Oh,
want."
okay. I didn't know that. All right.
But if
Nice.
you guys aren't doing anything, you want to do something, let me know. We can. If he's only going to the game to drop off my tomatoes, I can just bring your tomatoes over and get my tomatoes, because I have the.
I mean, at some point, I'm driving my daughter to O'Hare because she's going back to school because she has to work tomorrow night. What am I doing tomorrow? I thought we had something going on tomorrow. Well, I was going to get your peck of tomatoes. That was on my list.
Right. Well,
I
we can
thought,
talk after.
yeah, I've got to think about it. I don't know. I had something I thought.
All
Okay.
right, we'll see.
Okay.
All
We have
right.
to
Well, figure out our plans and live. All
All right.
righty. I hope everyone does some good cooking and has a great weekend. It's going to be nice and fall-like outside here in Chicago, so it'll be fun.
All right. And
All
watch
right.
some football, have some snacks. You won't have to leave your couch for this one.
All right, everybody, have a good weekend.